it was the first time a light bulb went on to say that actually all this pricing that we do, which is really analysing risks and working out what they cost, could be used for other things. And actually, we could do risk prevention as well as risk pricing.
Today I have with me Sarah Vaughan from Angelica Solutions. Sarah started Angelica in 2019. They offer analytical and actuarial support specialising in UK personal lines pricing. Before Angelica, she led pricing at Insure and Swiftcover. As well as being a leader in general insurance, she is a keen runner. So let's meet Sarah. Hello, Sarah, and welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, Jeremy.
Excellent. It's great to have you on. So the first thing I want to ask you is, how did you get where you are today?
And the first part of my answer is by more luck than judgment. I think if I look back in hindsight, I could probably see a series of key events or decisions that have actually led to me to where I am today. So if I retrofit the story, I would say I'd say maths came easily to me as a child, and so after what I call a lucky escape from a management degree, I found myself doing a maths degree. And then at the end of my second year, my brother helped me to get a job in a life insurance team, actually, as part of the actuarial team. And then a year later, when I finished my degree, I grabbed the actuarial directory and wrote to everyone that was within a sensible driving distance of my home in Surrey, which was quite a short list. But I was lucky enough to get myself a job at what was EMB at the time, so now part of Willis Towers Watson. And again, now I look back in hindsight, that was an excellent place to start my career. It was an excellent company. It gave me an opportunity to meet lots of really excellent technical people, but also make lots of good friends. So that sort of was the start of it, and to some extent, the rest is history. But to scroll forward somewhat to get to where I am today, I left the EMB and went in house for a bit. So I've worked for AXA, I've worked for Insure and the AA, a number of others. But in 2019, I decided to go out on my own and set up my own consultancy. I love the variety that brings me and the opportunity to work with lots of different companies, different parts of the industry, and different challenges. But I also actually love helping what I think are hopefully the next generation of graduates to follow that same path that I did into an industry which I do genuinely now love. So yeah, that's the short version of how I got where I am today.
And you mentioned that you went and set up on your own. What did you find to be the biggest challenge to that?
Oh, that's a good question. Another ex-colleague of mine has asked me in the past what would be my top tips, and it's another one where I slightly retrofit to. Again, I didn't necessarily go out with a plan of, right, I need to achieve A and B and C, and this is how I'm going to do it. I started thinking I want to be a consultancy and not a contractor. And what that meant to me and still means to me is that I really want to help build sustainable solutions, really grow people's capabilities. So to sort of coin a relatively popular phrase, if I want to help build wells and not bring water. So that was always sort of part of my ethos. And I guess I started thinking I want a variety of clients so that I'm not just working with one company all of the time, which in itself is a challenge for anyone who is thinking, okay, how does one grow as a consultant? But actually, I'm one of a number of people, I think, for whom the pandemic actually dealt me some favors, if you like. And so moving towards working from home, or at least working remotely, enabled some of that aspect of growing a consultancy. So I think here I am now, I can look back over that sort of 4 or 5 years and think, it is a challenge trying to work across multiple different clients and multiple projects. But in many ways, it's no different to when you're in-house and you're always managing 3 or 4 different priorities at once, are you? And potentially more.
Yep.
So it's not that different. It just so happens that the badge and the logo on that piece of work is different. But the idea that you work across different projects with different groups of people simultaneously is not really new. It was just thinking about it in a different way.
I have a fairly similar journey, and I did find the pandemic broke down barriers. And what was it like with Insure?
it was absolutely fascinating, and it was the first time a light bulb went on to say that actually all this pricing that we do, which is really analysing risks and working out what they cost, could be used for other things, and actually we could do risk prevention as well as risk pricing.
Yeah.
So that aspect of it was fascinating. It was also in its, I guess, arguably scale up phase, which is another phase of company life that I really enjoy, to be honest with you, where it's taking something that's there and got all the ingredients and taking it to something bigger and potentially more refined and further scalable. So yeah, really fascinating stuff from lots of perspectives.
So, what would you say is your mission for general insurance pricing?
So without giving the game away, you posed this question to me. You gave me a bit of prep time, and I thought that sounds very grand, doesn't it? A mission for insurance pricing, and I love the fact that you've clearly got a mission for insurance pricing. And I thought I drew a parallel with something else that I love. So lots of people who do know me, and to be brutally honest, you don't have to talk to me for long before I bring it up. But know that I love running, and know that I love parkrun. So what is now the sort of global series of weekly 5K events on a Saturday. And if you've ever seen or read some of the history of that and read any interviews with the founder, Paul Sinton Hewitt, he said right from the early days that when people said to him, "What's your mission for Parkrun?" He said it's that every community that wants one has one.
Yeah.
And I draw a parallel there with what I think I want to bring, in that I'm not going to sit here and say I've got a vision for what I think is where insurance pricing should go. There are lots of really talented individuals working in this area and the sort of allied areas, and I wouldn't profess to say I've got a one size fits all answer, and nor would I say that there is one. So what I want is for all those people to be able to do what they want to be able to do, and if I can bring my 20 years of experience in the industry and the things that I've seen, if I can bring that to help them get what they think is their vision, then that's my vision.
That's excellent. I've not. So, what was the name of the person that invented Parkrun?
Paul Sinton Hewitt.
Paul Sinton Hewitt. I've not heard of him before, but you'll know I run as well, although I don't do parkrun. But that's really interesting.
It's yeah, don't get me on that subject because you'll be I'll forget that I'm talking about insurance. But I like that. It's sort of, I'm not here to impress my way forward upon
Yeah.
people, because as I say, I think that that what's right for each company and for each line of business, it really varies depending on the current market conditions, where that company is in its evolution, so many different things, that I think it's about if I can enable and bring that experience and my company's experience. So I'm growing, part of my growing of my consultancy. I'm growing my own team, and I think that hopefully they've got a real curiosity, and between us we can come and enable others to achieve their goals.
Do you say then that capability is the big focus for you? You want companies and people to be able to achieve more?
Yeah, because I think that is the struggle. One of the other challenges, actually, in consulting, full stop, and I'm sure you've encountered it, is people worry about intellectual property, and actually one of the things I sometimes say in response to that is that there is an absolute gulf between knowing how to do something and being able to do it.
Yeah.
And I think actually that phenomenon is even more widely known. I think literally in Silicon Valley, when ideas and conceptions, getting them from paper to something that you and I buy in the shops. Valley sort of pitted with traps, problems. So that's being able to take an idea, actually make it happen. And so I think you are right. Where do I think I come in? I'm not coming along with what I think are the most intelligent or intellectually challenging ideas that I want enacted, but I think I come along with a practical, applied approach
Yeah.
to bring teams together,
Yeah.
how to make something happen, often in less than perfect circumstances, because again, even if there was a textbook on how to make something happen,
Yeah.
the circumstances of each and every project are likely to be so different that the textbook's never going to work. So
Yeah.
yeah.
The practical really resonates with me because I think a lot of what's written about is very theoretical, and there's such a focus on modelling. And modelling's important, but it's, in my view, it's about 1/9 of what you need to be good at to have an effective pricing team. There's so much else that goes into it. And I like what you're saying as well about about actually people doing things. If I take an example like geographic modelling, so modelling by zip codes and postcodes, conceptually, most of us know how to do it, but when you've actually done it, you learn so much from doing it that the next time it's so much easier. And then you can impart the actual practical knowledge to people. And then deployment is always the big test for everyone, because you have this wonderful, nice models that you've made, but getting it into the real world can often be quite difficult unless you've got that experience.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And what would you say then is your vision for the future of insurance pricing?
I think that's where I'd loop back to what I touched on when you asked about life at Insure the Box and in telematics, is that I think it's got such potential to move away from being about risk pricing and a sort of retrospective, this is why it went wrong, to being about risk prevention. And in the motor space, that being about helping reduce road casualties and improve road safety. In the health space, using connected devices to help people live the life that they want to live. I think that's where the huge opportunity is. And it's another one, actually, having just said about it's the making it happen. I think you could do a lot of analysis and we would know an awful lot about how, let's say, young drivers could or should change their behaviour. But I think, luckily, actually, human beings are very hard to get to change their behaviour. And
Yeah.
so, what it might mean for the sort of future of insurance pricing and data is we need to move away from that sort of traditional safe space where we are just analysing the past and setting a price for it. If what we want to do is change behaviour, we probably need to start to engage with other disciplines and think about behavioural change experts, marketing experts, and more potentially more creative industries to say, how do we use that knowledge that we've got to reduce risk? Which arguably, that sort of principle is not new news at all. I think it's another one I read relatively recently about, some of the history of Lloyd's and the shipping insurance. At very early doors, those who were insuring some of those early ships figured out that actually, if they helped improve safety and risk management on
Yeah.
those voyages, that would be good for them and good for the people who were insuring them. And that's where I'd really like to see it go, if we can.
Definitely. I think it's good. It's interesting to think about how the telematics and actually the behavioural research can be used to help with road safety.
Mm. And because it's far easier said than done, right? That even on the roads, I think the best chance you've got is where there is a reason for people to change that behaviour, and that might start in the commercial space. So, I'm sure you've been in an Uber or watched a delivery rider somewhere, and at some point, and you see what they are currently motivated by is
Yeah.
dropping as many deliveries off or people off in as
Yeah.
short a space of time as possible, which
Yeah.
is not what which is completely the opposite to what reducing casualties on the road is trying to achieve. So that sort of alignment of objectives and motivations, I think, will become really important. So
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you very much, Sarah. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I I'm going to say I don't think so, and then I'm going to do that thing that everybody always says is no, but and only
Yeah.
really to say only really to say thank you ever so much for inviting me to talk today. That I think you've got, it's a great series of thought provoking questions from my perspective. I've really enjoyed.
Thanks. You have a good day. Bye
You
bye.
too. Cheers, Jeremy. Bye bye.